Chapter 13. The Calamity Who Asked for Directions. Zoro walked down the hallway with full confidence, which meant it was absolutely the wrong hallway. The corridor twisted left. He went right. It went right too. Suspicious, he muttered. Behind him, the heavenly sword floated politely. The black-red ancestral blade hovered with heavy silence, radiating enough pressure to make passing disciples kneel involuntarily. Everywhere he stepped, people scattered. Why everyone running? Zoro asked aloud. A young disciple tripped over his own robes, trying to bow. Gee, great senior, please don't awaken anything else. Zoro blinked. I awaken things? The black-red blade pulsed once. Oh. He turned a corner, ended up in the sect's treasury. Golden light reflected everywhere, spirit stones stacked like mountains, pills, weapons, rare herbs, glowing relics floating in protective arrays. Zoro squinted. Kitchen? The heavenly sword bonked him lightly. What? Smells expensive. The moment he stepped inside, the Treasury's Supreme Defensive Formation activated automatically. A massive golden dome sealed the room. A deep, mechanical voice echoed, "Unauthorized presence detected, initiating annihilation protocol." Zoro blinked. Rude. Dozens of spirit cannons emerged from the walls. Hundreds of blade arrays formed overhead. Outside the Treasury, elders screamed, "Stop the formation! It's automatic!" Inside, everything fired at once. Beams, blades, explosions of condensed chi. Zoro stepped left. Wrong. Stepped right. Also wrong. Tripped on a spirit stone. Fell forward. Every beam missed him and collided midair. The treasury ceiling exploded. Smoke filled the room. Zoro rolled to his feet, accidentally stylish. The golden dome cracked from internal backlash. The black-red ancestral blade casually released a pulse. Boom. The entire annihilation formation shattered like glass. The treasury went silent. Zoro looked around at the floating spirit stones. He picked one up, sniffed it. Not booze. He tossed it back. It embedded into a far wall like a bullet. Elder Han burst through the destroyed doorway, panting. "Please," he shouted. Zoro looked at him. Great senior, perhaps you would prefer the guest pavilion?" Zoro tilted his head. "Does it have booze?" "Yes, lead." Elder Han immediately turned and walked very carefully down the corridor. Zoro followed. 3 steps later, he turned into a different hallway entirely. "Wrong way," he said calmly. The heavenly sword hovered confused. The black-red blade rotated slowly like it was enjoying this. Elder Han froze in place. That way was the guest pavilion. Zoro pointed at the opposite direction. "Feels like this." "That is the forbidden spirit beast enclosure." Zoro paused. "Does it have booze?" "No." "Then wrong." He turned again. Immediately opened a random sliding door. Silence. Inside was a massive circular chamber with intricate arrays carved into the floor. At the center stood a tall crystalline pillar containing a sleeping woman wrapped in glowing chains of light. The air inside felt ancient, heavy, sacred. Zoro blinked. Definitely not exit. The heavenly sword vibrated nervously. The black-red blade hummed low. Elder Han appeared behind him and nearly fainted. "You opened the Saint Sealing Chamber?" Zoro glanced back. "You guys label your doors?" The crystalline pillar cracked slightly. A faint pulse spread outward. The chains glowed brighter. Inside the crystal, the woman's eyes slowly opened. Golden, ancient, calm. Her gaze locked onto Zoro instantly. Silence swallowed the chamber. "Who are you?" she whispered through the crystal. Zoro scratched his cheek. "Lost." The chamber trembled. The heavenly sword lowered slightly in respect. The black-red ancestral blade released a deep hum. The woman's eyes widened slightly. "You carry the world-cutting blade and the heavenly sword, yet your aura is not of this realm." Zoro looked down at himself. Feels normal. The chains binding her cracked further. Elder Han dropped to his knees. "She's awakening after 500 years. Zoro tilted his head. "I do that a lot?" The crystal shattered. The chains dissolved into golden particles. The woman stepped forward barefoot, her presence instantly silencing the entire sect. Pressure rolled outward in waves. Disciples across the mountain collapsed. Clouds parted above the sect. She stopped a few steps in front of Zoro, studied him carefully. Then, she bowed slightly. Elder Han's soul nearly left his body. "You bow?" he whispered in disbelief. The woman straightened. "You are not bound by cultivation laws." Zoro blinked. "Is that bad?" Her lips twitched faintly. Almost a smile. "No." The black-red blade floated between them slowly. It hummed softly. The heavenly sword glowed brighter. The woman placed a hand gently on the black-red blade. "It has chosen you." Zoro frowned slightly. It attacked first. For the first time in centuries, the saint of the Intermountain sect laughed quietly, a soft, clear sound. The sect trembled again, but not from fear this time, from something else. She looked at him again. You are a calamity. Zoro scratched his head. I get that a lot. Outside the chamber, distant thunder echoed across the horizon. Not from the sky-severing sect, not from the Intermountain. Something else had felt the awakening, something much larger. The woman's golden eyes shifted toward the distant sky. They have noticed. Zoro followed her gaze. Who? Far beyond the clouds, the sky cracked, not metaphorically, literally. A thin black line tore across the heavens like a blade slicing reality itself. Wind howled violently across the sect. The saint's expression grew serious. The upper realm. Zoro squinted. Sounds high. The crack widened. Something enormous began descending beyond it. Not a fleet, not a sect. Something far older, far more dangerous. Zoro adjusted the swords at his waist. Wrong direction again? The saint looked at him. No. For once, he had walked exactly where he was supposed to. Chapter 14. The sky was not meant to bleed. The crack in the sky widened slowly, not like glass breaking, like flesh being cut open. Black light poured through it. Not darkness, something heavier, something that bent the air around it. The entire Intermountain sect knelt instinctively. Zoro did not. He squinted upward. That's new. The saint stood beside him, golden aura rising like a tide. Her hair lifted in invisible wind. It is not a being, she said quietly. The crack expanded further. It is a hand. From within the tear in the sky, something moved. Massive. Pale. Fingers the size of mountains pressed against the opening from the other side. Reality groaned. The heavenly sword vibrated violently. The black-red ancestral blade released a deep, furious hum. Zoro tilted his head. Big. The fingers pushed through. The sky split wider, revealing a colossal palm forcing its way into this realm. Each movement shattered clouds and distorted space. Pressure descended. Forests flattened. Mountains fractured. Disciples collapsed unconscious. Elder Han could not even lift his head. The saint's aura intensified to shield the sect, but cracks formed in her barrier instantly. Zoro rolled his shoulders. Too loud. The enormous hand finally broke fully through the sky. It hovered above the mountain, blotting out the sun. Symbols burned across its skin, laws of a higher world carved directly into flesh. A voice followed, not from a mouth, from everywhere. World-cutting blade detected. Lower realm contamination confirmed. Zoro looked around. It talking to me? The saint's expression hardened. They have come to reclaim the blade and erase the variable. Zoro blinked. Variable? The hand moved. One finger extended downward. The space beneath it began collapsing inward. A point of pure annihilation formed at its tip. Zoro sighed. Always me. He stepped forward, tripped slightly on a cracked stone, regained balance. Sanzen Sekai. 9 blades crossed. Black lightning exploded outward. He leapt upward, wrong angle. He rotated midair awkwardly. The annihilation beam fired. His spinning slash met it sideways instead of head-on. The beam bent, shifted, cut across the sky horizontally. The upper realm hand froze. A thin black line appeared across one finger. Silence fell. The finger separated cleanly. It fell slowly, then disintegrated before hitting the ground. Zoro landed hard on his feet, sliding backward. Eh! The severed line in the sky did not close. Instead, it widened. Black lightning crackled around the massive hand. The voice returned, calm, but no longer indifferent. Lower realm anomaly confirmed. The entire hand clenched into a fist. The sky screamed as reality compressed around it. The saint stepped forward, placing herself slightly ahead of Zoro. You cannot face that alone. Zoro glanced at her. I wasn't alone. Behind him, the heavenly sword rose. The black-red ancestral blade floated forward, both aligned beside him like silent generals. Phantom Asura arms erupted behind his back. Larger than before. 6 arms. 3 faces. Black lightning crawling across them like living veins. The storm core inside him pulsed violently, denser, sharper, more stable than ever. The fist descended, slow, inevitable. Each inch downward caused the mountain beneath it to crack. Zoro exhaled slowly. Fine. He planted his feet. For once, he did not slip. He did not trip. He did not fall. He launched upward cleanly. All 9 blades struck at once. The heavenly sword added its light. The black-red blade added its ancient fury. A column of black lightning erupted from his body and met the descending fist. Impact. The sky shattered outward like broken glass. The entire upper realm tear split vertically from top to bottom. The massive fist stopped mid-descent. A crack appeared across its knuckles. Then another, then dozens. The voice returned, no longer calm. Impossible. Zoro gritted his teeth. Too heavy. His feet began sinking into mid-air from the pressure. The saint placed her palm against his back. Golden energy surged into him. "Focus your cut," she whispered. Zoro blinked. "Direction?" "Straight," he nodded once. "Got it," he roared. All 9 blades aligned perfectly for the first time since entering this world. A single vertical slash. Clean, direct, absolute. The massive upper realm hand split from wrist to knuckles. The tear in the sky widened violently, then snapped shut like a wound rejecting infection. The severed pieces of the hand dissolved into black ash before they could fall. Silence swallowed the world. The clouds slowly drifted back into place. Sunlight returned. Zoro dropped from the sky. This time he did not land in a fountain. He landed on his feet. The heavenly sword floated quietly. The black-red blade hummed low and satisfied. Behind him, the saint withdrew her hand slowly. The sect remained silent. Elder Han finally lifted his head. He cut the upper realm. Zoro looked up at the sky. Still no booze. The saint actually smiled this time, but far beyond the closed sky in a realm above realms, something had opened its eyes, and this time, it was not just a hand. Chapter 15. The thing that opened its eyes. The sky remained blue. Too blue. Zoro didn't trust it. He stood on the broken peak of Inner Mountain, staring upward with narrowed eyes. It's pretending. Elder Han, still kneeling, blinked. What is? The sky. The sky cannot pretend. Zoro crossed his arms. It just tried to punch me. That was fair. The saint stepped forward, her golden aura faint but steady. She had not spoken since the tear closed. Now she did. It was not the upper realm's full power. Zoro glanced sideways. That wasn't full? No. He scratched his head. Good. Why is that good? Elder Han asked weakly. Zoro shrugged. I didn't even get serious. Silence. Wind moved gently across the shattered mountain. Disciples slowly regained consciousness one by one. Some looked at Zoro like he was a god. Some looked up to him like he was a disaster. Both were correct. Far above, beyond the realm's barrier, something vast shifted. It was not shaped like a human. It was not shaped at all. It was a presence, an awareness. It had sent the hand absent-mindedly, like brushing dust off a table. Now it was paying attention, and it did not like what it felt. Back in the lower realm, the heavenly sword floated down before Zoro. Its white glow flickered uncertainly. He stared at it. You saw that too, right? The blade vibrated. That thing's stronger than you? Silence. Useless. The blade glowed angrily. The black-red ancestral sword drifted beside him and pulsed with dark amusement. Don't start, Zoro muttered. The saint watched the swords carefully. They are reacting. To what? To you. Zoro blinked. I didn't do anything. She looked at the sky. You cut something that exists beyond laws. Yeah. You did not use technique. Yeah. You did not use formation. Yeah. You cut it because you decided to. Zoro thought about that. That's how cutting works. Elder Han fainted again. The saint pressed her fingers to her temple briefly. This world is governed by ascending laws. One cultivates, understands, integrates, and transcends. Zoro yawned. I swing. Yes, you swing. A rumble echoed from deep within the mountain. Everyone froze. Cracks formed along the sect's main courtyard. But this was not external pressure. This was internal resonance. The entire realm was responding to something. The storm core inside Zoro pulsed violently. He grabbed his chest. Oi. Black lightning leaked from his skin. Not uncontrolled, not wild, compressed, denser than before. The saint stepped closer. It is reacting to the gaze. The what? The thing above. The sky darkened slightly. Not with clouds, with weight. A single vertical line appeared in the air again. But smaller, thinner, like an eyelid. It opened. An eye looked down. It had no pupil, no iris, only depth, endless depth. The entire sect dropped to their knees instantly. Like Zoro didn't. He squinted. That's creepy. The eye did not blink, it simply observed. The storm core inside him compressed further. His Asura phantom flickered behind him without command. 6 arms spread outward. The heavenly sword rose defensively. The black-red blade hummed like it recognized something ancient. The eye focused. A ripple passed through reality, not an attack, an evaluation. Zoro tilted his head. You staring or fighting? The eye pulsed once. Suddenly, Zoro vanished. He reappeared 3 meters to the left. Huh? He had not moved. Space had. The saint's eyes widened. It is rewriting position. Zoro looked down. Don't like that. He stepped forward. The ground shifted sideways. He ended up facing a tree instead of the sky. Oi. The eye pulsed again. Gravity inverted. Disciples screamed as they fell upward. The saint anchored herself with golden light. Zoro floated upward slowly. He scratched his head midair. Annoying. The eye wasn't attacking directly. It was testing parameters, testing resistance, testing definition. Zoro stopped floating, not because gravity returned, because he stabbed a sword into nothing. The blade caught, on empty air. He hung from it upside down. Found it. The saint stared. You stabbed space. Zoro swung himself upright using the invisible anchor point. Feels like cutting wind. The eye narrowed slightly. If it had eyelids. The storm core inside Zoro shifted again. Not expanding. Condensing. The black lightning no longer exploded outward wildly. It wrapped around his blades. Quiet. Thin. Terrifying. The eye pulsed once more. This time, Zoro's right arm disappeared. Just gone. No blood. No cut. Erased from location. Disciples gasped. Elder Han screamed. Zoro stared at the empty space where his arm had been. Oi! He looked up at the eye. Give it back. The eye did not respond. Zoro sighed. Fine. He bit Wado Ichimonji in his mouth. His left hand gripped 2 blades. The remaining swords floated around him. The Asura phantom roared behind him, now one arm missing to mirror him. He jumped. The sky bent sideways. He adjusted midair. The ground flipped vertical. He ran on it. Space twisted again. He cut through it. A thin black line formed where his blade passed. The distortion split. His missing arm dropped out of nowhere. He caught it midair. Reattached it. Flexed his fingers. Tch! The eye finally reacted. For the first time, a ripple of irritation passed through its depth. The saint whispered softly, It cannot categorize you. Zoro landed on a floating rock that used to be part of the courtyard. Good. The eye began closing slowly, not retreating, thinking. As it narrowed, a whisper echoed across the entire realm. Not sound, intent. Mark. A symbol burned briefly across Zoro's chest, then vanished beneath his skin. The eye closed fully. The sky returned to normal. Gravity stabilized. Silence fell once again. Zoro stood there for a long moment. Did it just insult me? The saint stared at his chest. It marked you. For what? She looked upward. For collection. Zoro blinked. Collection? Yes, he rolled his shoulders. Then it better come down here. The heavenly sword pulsed anxiously. The black-red ancestral blade hummed with dark anticipation. The storm core inside him felt different now. Not unstable, not wild. Focused. Like something sharpening from the inside. Zoro started walking. Where's the kitchen? Elder Han choked. The world nearly ended. Zoro kept walking. I'm hungry. He turned left. Immediately walked into a collapsed wall. Shh! Turned right. Walked toward the storage halls instead of the kitchens. The saint watched him go. High above, beyond the realm's barrier, the vast presence shifted once more. Not angry. Interested. The hand had been a probe, the eye had been evaluation. The mark was preparation, and somewhere far above worlds, a gate began to open. Chapter 16. The Gate That Should Not Open. The mark burned, not on his skin, inside. Zoro was chewing on something that may or may not have been food when he paused mid-bite. Hot. A thin black symbol flickered briefly across his chest, visible through cloth like lightning beneath water. The saint immediately appeared in front of him. You feel it. Zoro swallowed. Feels like bad sake. That is not sake. That is not sake. Disappointing. The air changed. The wind no longer moved naturally. It flowed upward, toward the sky. Every cloud began spiraling in the same direction, clockwise. The disciples stared upward in dread. Elder Han dropped his bowl. Not again. Zoro followed their gaze. Oh. The sky was splitting, not violently, not like before. This time it was clean, precise, like a door opening politely. A vertical golden line appeared across the heavens. It widened slowly, revealing not darkness, but architecture. Massive golden pillars, floating steps, an enormous gate suspended in nothingness. Beyond it, a realm brighter than the sun. The saint's voice dropped to a whisper. The upper ascension gate. Zoro tilted his head. Looks expensive. The gate creaked open further. Golden chains extended downward, piercing through the clouds and anchoring into the air above the sect. They were not touching the ground, they were anchored to Zoro. The mark on his chest flared violently. Ch! The chains tightened. Disciples screamed as pressure crushed the courtyard flat. Zoro did not move. He stared at the chains calmly. You serious? The saint's aura flared to full strength. They are not attacking. Feels like attacking. They are claiming. One chain wrapped around his left arm, another around his waist, one around his neck. They did not choke. They weighed. Each chain pulsed with laws far beyond this realm's comprehension. The storm core inside Zoro reacted instantly. Compressed, sharpened. Black lightning wrapped around the chains where they touched him. The upper gate brightened. A presence stepped forward beyond it, tall, humanoid, dressed in flowing white robes that shimmered with starlight. Its face was calm, too calm, eyes silver and emotionless, a being that had not struggled in eons. It looked down at Zoro the way one inspects a tool. The saint's voice trembled slightly. Upper Realm Arbiter. Zoro squinted upward. You the Eye? The Arbiter did not answer. It raised one hand slowly. The chains tightened. The mountain beneath Zoro shattered. He remained standing on broken stone suspended in air. The Arbiter finally spoke. Its voice was clear, measured, without hostility. Lower anomaly. You possess property not granted by law. Zoro blinked. What? You will ascend for extraction. Extraction? The saint stepped forward. You cannot forcibly ascend a being whose realm has not stabilized. The Arbiter did not look at her. She is irrelevant. Golden pressure struck her and pinned her to the ground instantly. Zoro's expression darkened slightly. Oi! The chains pulled upward. His feet left the ground slowly. The gate above glowed brighter. Zoro rose toward it inch by inch. He did not struggle. He looked up at the Arbiter calmly. You got booze up there? Silence. No? The storm core pulsed once. The chains creaked. The Arbiter's silver eyes narrowed slightly. Resistance detected. Black lightning crawled along the golden links. One chain cracked, just a little. The Arbiter raised its hand higher. The sky screamed. The pull intensified tenfold. Mountains around the sect began rising into the air as collateral. Zoro finally sighed. Fine. His right hand moved, slow, deliberate. He grabbed one golden chain. It burned his palm. He tightened his grip anyway. Black lightning did not explode outward this time. It compressed inward, into his hand, into the blade he drew. Wado Ichimonji gleamed white, but at its edge, a thin black line formed. Not energy, not aura, a concept. The Arbiter's voice remained calm. You do not comprehend the structure you resist. Zoro lifted the blade. Don't need to. He swung. Not upward, not at the chains, not at the gate. He swung sideways. The air split. A horizontal black line extended across the entire sky. The golden chains froze. The Arbiter's silver eyes widened for the first time. The gate trembled. Then, the horizontal cut reached it. Silence. The upper ascension gate, split in half, cleanly, perfectly. The golden chains shattered instantly into fragments of law. The Arbiter staggered backward as cracks spread across its perfect robe. The saint's pressure vanished. Mountains fell back to earth. The sky snapped shut violently like a door slammed in rage. Zoro dropped. He landed hard in the crater that used to be the courtyard. Too bright. Above, the upper realm trembled. Inside its radiant architecture, the Arbiter looked down at the broken gate, a thin crack running across its chest where the slash had passed. For the first time in countless eras, it felt something unfamiliar. Pain. Back below, Elder Han stared at the closed sky in horror. He cut ascension itself. The saint walked slowly toward Zoro. You severed the gate of law. Zoro sheathed his blade. It was in the way. The storm core inside him was quiet now. Too quiet. The mark on his chest flickered once, then stabilized into something sharper. Not a brand, not a chain, a beacon. The saint sensed it immediately. Her expression shifted from awe to concern. You did not stop them. Zoro looked at her. It's closed. Yes, she looked upward. But now they will come personally. Zoro shrugged. Then I'll cut them too. He turned and started walking, in the wrong direction. Again, he walked straight toward the ruined defensive tower instead of the living quarters. Kitchen this way? Elder Han choked. That is the armory. Zoro paused. Good enough. Behind him, far above, the broken halves of the upper gate began reforming, but this time, it was not opening to claim. It was opening for war. Chapter 17. War falls from the sky. The sky did not crack this time. It descended. Clouds were pushed aside by something massive forcing its way downward. Not a tear, not a door. An invasion. Golden spears pierced the heavens first, thousands of them, forming a radiant canopy above the sect. Each spear hovered tip down, humming with upper realm law. Disciples fell to their knees again. Elder Han didn't even try to stand. We are finished. Zoro walked out of the ruined armory chewing something crunchy. Too salty. The saint appeared beside him instantly. It is an upper realm legion. Zoro looked up. Rows of figures emerged between the spears, armored beings clad in white and gold, each one radiating saint-level pressure or higher. Their eyes were silver, their expressions identical. No anger, no arrogance, only function. Zoro counted lazily. A lot. There are 3,000, the saint said. He blinked. You counted? I can sense them. He scratched his head. You fight left? She stared at him. You are dividing an upper realm legion like cores? Yeah. The first spear fell. It did not pierce the ground. It erased the space it touched. A section of mountain vanished as if deleted. Zoro stepped forward casually. Another spear dropped toward him. He didn't look up. His blade flashed once. The spear split in two, and both halves dissolved harmlessly into drifting light. Above, one of the Legion commanders narrowed his silver eyes. Lower anomaly confirmed. Engage. The sky turned white. 3,000 figures descended at once. The saint surged upward in golden brilliance, meeting the front line with a shockwave that shook the entire valley. Zoro stood alone at the center of the crater. Ch! He drew two blades, bit the third. Black lightning crawled thinly along their edges. The first Legion soldier reached him. A thrust faster than sound. Zoro leaned slightly left. The spear missed by a hair. He tripped on broken stone. The Legion soldier followed through, adjusting angle to impale him mid-fall. Zoro's falling spin turned into a full circular slash. The soldier split cleanly from shoulder to hip. Light spilled out instead of blood. 5 more attacked simultaneously. Perfect formation. Angles calculated. No wasted motion. Zoro ducked one, blocked another. Kicked off a third shield by accident while losing balance. That accidental kick flipped him backward over a descending blade. Mid-flip, he slashed downward. 2 more legionnaires split apart. He landed poorly. Face first. Rolled. Stood up, scratching his cheek. Slippery. Above, commanders watched carefully. He does not follow predictive combat structure. He has no structure. Correct. That made him impossible to calculate. Meanwhile, the saint clashed with 3 captains at once. Golden light against radiant law. Her movements were precise, elegant. Zoro's were not. A dozen legionnaires surrounded him. They moved in perfect synchrony, blades descending from every direction. Zoro blinked. Too many directions. He closed his eyes. The storm core pulsed. Instead of expanding outward, it condensed inward to a razor edge. He swung once, not fast, not flashy, just once. A thin black sphere expanded from him in a perfect circle. Everything inside it. Split. Legion armor. Upper realm weapons. Even the light itself fractured into pieces. When the sphere faded, 30 Legion soldiers were gone. Silence rippled outward. High above, one commander spoke calmly. Escalation authorized. The golden spears in the sky began rotating. They aligned downward simultaneously. 3,000 beams fired at once. The saint's eyes widened. Zoro! He looked up. Annoying. He jumped. Mid-air, space shifted. The beams altered trajectory to follow him. He twisted, missed footing on air that wasn't there. Fell backward. The beams crossed where he would have been, colliding into each other instead. The resulting explosion erased half the remaining Legion forces in blinding white. Zoro landed on a floating rock fragment. Heh. He didn't mean to do that. Below, Elder Han stared upward, trembling. He is weaponizing being lost. The commanders regrouped. Their formation shifted. This time they didn't descend recklessly. They formed a massive radiant array above the sect, a circular formation spanning kilometers. Symbols rotated. Law condensed. Zoro felt it immediately. Heavy. The saint appeared beside him again, breathing harder now. They are sealing the entire realm. Why? To prevent escape. I wasn't leaving. The array completed. The sky turned gold. A pillar of light descended directly onto Zoro. Not to erase, to contain. He tried stepping left. The light followed. Right. Followed. He jumped. It bent midair to trap him. Ch-ch. The light hardened around him into a golden prism. Sealed. The saint struck the barrier from outside. Cracks formed, but slowly. Inside the prism, Zoro stood calmly. He tapped the golden wall. Feels expensive. The commanders descended slowly, surrounding the prism at a distance. One stepped forward. You will ascend. Zoro looked at him through the glowing barrier. No. It is not a request. Zoro sighed. You keep saying that. The storm core pulsed once, twice, 3 times. Not violently, rhythmically. The golden prism began vibrating. Hairline cracks appeared across its inner surface. The commander's tone shifted slightly. Increased suppression. The array brightened. Pressure multiplied. The mountain beneath the prism flattened completely. Zoro's knees bent slightly. Heavy. He placed one hand on the inner wall. Black lightning did not explode outward. It seeped into the barrier, quietly, like ink in water. The golden light flickered. Zoro lifted Wado Ichimonji slowly. You picked wrong direction. He stabbed upward, not at the barrier, at nothing. The black line extended vertically through the prism, through the array, through the golden sky. The entire formation froze. Then, split from top to bottom, the prism shattered outward into fragments of law. The radiant array broke in half. Legion soldiers fell from the sky like broken statues. The golden canopy vanished instantly. Zoro stood at the center of the ruin, breathing steady, eyes calm. Above, the remaining commanders stared in silence. One finally spoke. Retreat. Without hesitation, the surviving Legion forces ascended back toward the thinning golden sky. Not defeated, but no longer certain. The sky sealed itself once more. Silence returned. The saint landed beside Zoro slowly. You drove back a legion. Zoro sheathed his swords. They talked too much. The storm core inside him felt different again. Sharper. Defined. The mark on his chest pulsed faintly, no longer a chain. A signal. A challenge. Far above, in the upper realm, the Arbiter stood before a greater presence. Lower anomaly cannot be collected through force. The greater presence did not respond immediately. Then a single command echoed across the upper realm. Prepare the Sovereign. Back below, Zoro looked around at the ruined sect. Kitchen still that way? Elder Han collapsed face first into the rubble.